Now that we're familiar with the FlexBuilder interface, we can build our first Apollo application, which of course will be the Apollo version of Hello World. So in FlexBuilder, I'm going to minimize our test project, and you can do that by just clicking the little triangle icon. And then we'll create a new Apollo project by going to File, New, Apollo Project. We're going to create a basic project since we won't be loading any data. Next, and we're going to call the project name Apollo Hello World. I'm going to use my default location, but if you'd like, you can specify a custom location by unchecking the checkbox for Use Default Location, and then select the folder you'd like the application to be created in. Once you've created the project name, select Finish. And you can see it actually created two files for us. ApolloHelloWorld.mxml. This is the primary Flex MXML file, and ApolloHelloWorld-app.xml. This is an XML descriptor file that all Apollo applications need. These two files represent the bare minimum that every Apollo application has to have. First, let's open the XML file. I'll double-click it and it'll open it in the editor. The XML file is completely commented and gives you information about what all the individual tags mean. This file provides application metadata for the Apollo runtime. It provides information such as the application ID, the name of the application, and how it should be run when it's first started. First thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a line return in right here just so everything will fit on the screen. The first thing I need to modify is the application ID or the app ID attribute. This is a unique ID that identifies your application to Apollo. By default, FlexBuilder will put the project name in here, but we need to put some more information in to ensure that it's unique. One way to do this is to use a reverse domain format. So in my case, I'll say com.mikechambers.application name. Of course, you could put in your own name or your own domain. This helps ensure that your application ID will be unique among applications. And if I scroll down and come to the Properties tag, you notice that all the tags are fully commented, so if you're not sure what something does, just read the comments and it'll give you more information. The Name tag specifies the actual application name that Apollo will use for system icons and shortcut. In this case, FlexBuilder's already put in the name for us, Apollo Hello World. You can also add a description that'll be used when the user is installing the application. So let's put in a description, my first Apollo application. The Publisher tag specifies who has built the application. This may be your name or your company's name. So in this case, I'll put my name, Mike Chambers. And the Copyright tag, which is optional, allows you to specify copyright and license information. One of the most important tags is the Root Content tag. This tag specifies the main application file for the Apollo application. In this case, that would be the Flash file that's generated from the ApolloHelloWorld.mxml file that we're going to be creating. Now, when you're using FlexBuilder, you can see that we don't need to put in a reference to the main application file. FlexBuilder will automatically insert that for us when we build the application. However, there are a number of other attributes on this tag that are useful. The first is the System Chrome tag, which can be standard or none. Chrome refers to the window or the skin around the application. We also have a transparent tag, which specifies whether or not the actual window will have support for transparency. And finally, you can specify whether you want the window to be visible when it first starts up. You just set the visible attribute to true or false depending on what you want. The final tag we want to look at is the icon tag. This allows you to specify a PNG file in a certain size format, which is specified actually in the tag names, that Apollo will use as an application icon for your application when it's installed onto the operating system. We won't be using this tag in this project, but we'll be doing it in a little while in a more advanced project. So now that we've set up our XML file, let's save it, and you can do that by going to File, Save, and then close the document. We're now ready to switch over to our Flex document and create our actual Hello World application. So all we're going to do is just put in a simple Hello World text in the application. So I'm going to select a label control from the Components view and then drag that into my application. You can see here it actually gives me guides of where to snap in the middle. So I'll just Drop that on there. And now I can go over to my properties view and put in the text for the label. So in this case, I want to say Apollo Hello World. And then hit enter, and you can see that's reflected in design view. So I have complete design control over where the label goes. I can drag it to any position I want. I can also constrain it so it's only in certain places in relative position to its size. I can do that by selecting the control again in design view, scrolling down in the properties view, and then using the constraints options to constrain its position within the application. In this case, I want it to always be in the middle, so I'll constrain it vertically and horizontally and set the offset from the center to 0 in both cases. Now, and you see it adjusted there. At this point, we're pretty much done with our application. We just need to test it and make sure everything works correctly. So let's save the file. Again, File and Save. So that's all we really need to do. Our application's ready to test now. So we can just run it, again, by going to Run and then run Apollo Hello World. And what this will do is actually launches it as an Apollo application without having to install the application. And you can see here, it's in the default system Chrome. Again, this is just the default skin on the Mac. If you're on Windows, this would look like a Windows application. It just works like you'd expect it to. I can resize it, move it around. You can see my Hello World is constrained to the center. And you've built your first application. So we can close this just like we close any other window. So now that we've built our first simple Apollo application, we're ready to take advantage of some of the newer features in Apollo in a more advanced application.